everyone. It is week 3 in CIT 85, which really means it's like week 6 because we're double timing, right? So the idea that this class is being taught, and you've hopefully heard me say this by now, otherwise you're wondering why is there so much work in this class, but this class is a 9-week offering of a normal 18-week class, so you are getting the same content, just condensed, okay? So this week in your attendance reply, I want to ask you a specific question related to the follow-up class, and then after that I want to go over so just one of the things that I see can kind of throw you off related to just the way the course is laid out and some of the content that you're watching from last semester. So, but first, in your reply, I want you to A, tell me, did you watch this video? And 2, are you planning on taking the follow-up class to this class? So it goes CIT82 Web Technologies and then CIT85 Creating Websites. And I'm curious, I think there is a discussion right now happening whether that class is going to be online or face-to-face. So I'm curious if A, are you planning on taking it? And B, would that affect your ability to take it if it was offered in the either mode actually? Would that impact you if you didn't have it online, would you not be able to do it because your schedule wouldn't allow? Or if it was online, you're like, no, I'd rather take a class like that face to face, because that's really when you're gonna be coding. That's really the beginning of your coding experience. You get some here. We definitely touch on it. We teach you things like Bootstrap and the beginning of HTML and CSS, but really to understand, which is fundamental to any person going into web development or any related career, is to understand HTML and CSS. That class is really the beginning of that adventure. So just to be clear, when you reply, tell me, did you watch this video, and is that any of that the way that's being offered going to impact your ability to take it, if you were going to take it at all? Okay, cool. So I'm going to move over to the class real quick and just kind of look at where we're at. So today, Monday, we are finishing up week 4. Really important topics. Chrome DevTools, one of my favorite topics. I think everyone needs to learn Chrome DevTools because it's just so helpful and it's getting better all the time. And the dark web here, I just want to say, and I say this actually in the class topics, which by the way, you need to include the class topics in your lecture notes, and make sure you've formatted your notes so that I can see each week the different lecture from the heading perspective, right? You could like do week 4 and then a heading 2 might be class topics, and then another heading 2 would be, in this case, right, the web technologies fundamental part 2. So make that easier for me to see the breakdown of those notes would be a great way to do that. Now, the other thing I will say, and I think this is what I was hinting at in the beginning of this video, I really wanted to say, is that when you listen to the class topics, because you're watching recorded content from last semester, there was a discussion I was having with the students about trying to be more flexible on the replies, like making their main post due in one night and then giving them until the following due date. That does not apply to you. And the reason is what I talked about before, which is the fact that this is a compressed class, a condensed 9-week format. So every due date, and there's 2 of them a week, your main post and your replies are due. And make sure those replies are substantive. One sentence is not a substantive reply, so make sure if you want all the points for those, you are doing a substantive replies on them. Okay, so the other thing is I went ahead and released a couple weeks out, so in week 5, right, of the course content. We're really in week 3 because it ends as we move into, right, just the breakdown. I'm not going to go over that again, but just FYI. But we move into a really, I hope, even more enjoyable part of the lectures, which is the HTML Essentials, part 1, 2, and 3. And in the classwork, I talk about giving you the ability to do what's called code along versus notes, because I think the sooner you get into actually coding, doing HTML basic and CSS basic coding, the better your experience is going to be, not only in this class, but the class that follows follows, because the sooner you get your hands in the code, the easier this will be over time. It's like anything, the more you do it, the better you will get at it. That's how people get good at things. Some people are just naturally talented. For most of us, we just have to spend the amount of time to really learn that skill set. So I'm going to highly encourage you to do the code along. Now, having said that, I do in the lecture, in the class topics, talk about how to set up that drive. So make sure, because I'm having you code along in the Google Drive format, and later matter of fact, in the next couple weeks, you'll see us move to the GitHub to place your lecture notes and your content that we'll start creating. But for this week, since we haven't gotten there, we use Google Drive, which I think is good to know how to use this in the way that I've shown. So what I really look for is not that you upload all of the result, because FYI, and you'll see this, is that in the lynda.com stuff, they do give you all the resulting, like at the end of each particular video, you get the beginning of what the HTML look like and then the end. And really what I want to see is you've uploaded possibly the beginning, you've coded along to the end. And I can see that in the revisions. There's a revision history in Google Drive, so just make sure, right, and you're really doing the job that you need to do, which is to get your hands in there and get that code, and as they're lecturing, code along. And I think that's, in this case, a better way to learn. Okay, so I'm almost at the end of this, so I want to say, when we talk about selecting your editor here, since this recording, I've really even started thinking about this more. There's a couple of new editors, specifically Atom, that has become really popular. I think Sublime Text is still very popular, and we actually have, after the HTML, a week of lecture on Sublime Text, so I definitely still think it's relevant, and I definitely still think it's something you should look at. But if you choose another editor, just know that you need to have chosen content that you would substitute for this week. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking ahead a little bit, saying keep that in mind, because it's good to use any different kinds of editors, but find one, stick to it for the semester, and then even next semester. I don't think Todd dictates the editor of choice as well. There's this reason, because he uses a WebStorm and I have, and I'm rethinking that, because I think that editor, because it's more than an editor, it's a whole IDE, integrated development environment, that it actually creates a few barriers that we really don't need for students just learning to code. Okay, so that's there. Do make sure you hit reply to this attendance with what I've asked for as far as your appropriate reply, saying if you're planning on taking 85, and if the way we're offering it would impede or encourage or anything your ability and desire to take that class. Let me come back here. All right, have a great week. Class chat, really great. I think I have 14 of you on there. I highly recommend you all get on there because it's more immediate, and oftentimes you're working times that I'm not. And we're blessed to have Daniel, who's a CIT tutor, also in this class. So he's been great, and everybody's been great about answering questions as you need it. So, get help. Is my point. And my schedule is in the syllabus. There's a link to it. I offer CIT15 on Monday through Thursday, and any of those classes are typically just basically open labs, the way I run my classes. So you're also welcome to come see me there if you just want to connect with me in the classroom and you need some extra help. So check out my schedule. It's listed on the syllabus. Come see me when you need it. Hey, have a great week.